We are just 40 days away from kickoff for Texas Tech football as the Red Raiders are scheduled to open up fall camp next week. That can only mean one thing. It's preview time. And in today's video, we will discuss the most important position in all of sports, the quarterback position. What can Red Raider Nation expect from Behren Morton in 2024? Who are the newcomers? And much, much more in today's video. Hey, how's it going, everybody? It's RC Maxfield here for the Back to 12 podcast. And before we get into today's preview video of the quarterback position for the Texas Tech Red Raiders, I want to hear from you guys and just give me one word down on the pinned comment down below to describe Behren Morton. I think that there's a lot of ways you can go here, and I'll give my one word here later on in the video, but I want to hear from you guys. Let me know down on the pinned comment below your one word to describe QB1 for the Red Raiders in 2024. All right, let's backtrack a little bit, shall we? Let's take a look at 2023, and I think there's a lot of words you could use to describe 2023 for Texas Tech at the quarterback position. As you can see, the combined stats below. Didn't even get to 3,000 passing yards, and now, granted, that's kind of understandable from the sheer standpoint of you had three different starting quarterbacks for the second year in a row. Tyler Shough went down at West Virginia. Behren Morton actually got hurt at West Virginia and had a shoulder injury that lingered the entire year. You had Jake Strong start at BYU as a true freshman. It was just an unmitigated disaster, it felt like. And it didn't help that the wide receivers didn't separate at all in the offensive line. As you can see by the times that the quarterbacks were sacked last year, wasn't all that great either. You look at it, 2,900 yards, you had 24 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, 6 of those from Jake Strong, barely a 60% completion percentage. You were sacked 24 times, were the starting quarterbacks for Texas Tech, or really just the quarterbacks in general for the Red Raiders, with a QB rating of 121.6. I mentioned it. Let's just call it what it was. The QB spot last year for the Red Raiders was bad. And now I think a lot of that was due to the fact that they couldn't stay upright because the offensive line struggled and they really weren't healthy at all last year. So I'm not trying to give them a pass or anything like that, but looking at this from like a clear standpoint and a clear point of view, it's understandable in some regards. But now let's transition to this year. Again, only 40 days away are the Red Raiders from kicking off at Jones AT&T Stadium. The newly renovated South End Zone will be released, and they will face off against, well, a familiar face in Coach Patterson and the Abilene Christian Wildcats. Now, let's look at the depth chart for the Red Raiders in 2024. You see it at the bottom of your screen right there. This is what I think happens, and at QB2, we already know that's what's going to be the case because Joey McGuire has said so. So you look at it, Behren Morton is obviously QB1. There's no hesitation on that right now. It will be his team, and Joey McGuire has said that he's seen a new Behren Morton this offseason where he doesn't have to come in and compete for QB1. He's a better leader, he's more vocal, and he's been that guy that's been showing what it truly means to be a leader for Texas Tech. So that's good to hear. Then you've got Cameran Brown. We'll talk about him a little bit more here in just a second. 4-star Will Hammond. We'll also discuss him in just a second, as well as the other returnee alongside Behren Morton in Jake Strong. Let's look at the newcomers because there are 2 names in there, one from the high school ranks and one from the transfer ranks. We will start with the transfer, and that will be Cameran Brown. Now, he's transferring from West Georgia, and if you didn't know West Georgia was a school, me neither. But here we are. He is a physical quarterback. Think the likes of a Donovan Smith in terms of the way he is going to be used this year, specifically in the run game. Joey McGuire has already said that Zach Kitley and crew are implementing packages that will have Cameran Brown play in virtually every game, whether that's near the goal line, whether that's certain down and distances, whatever it may be. He's a guy that really didn't flash last year in terms of the numbers, right? And there's not much film because, again, not trying to poo-poo on West Georgia or anything, but it's West Georgia, right? He was the offensive freshman of the year, though, in the Gulf South Conference. He had 914 yards passing and 10 TDs while also running for almost 500 yards and 6 TDs. He's a guy that will, as I mentioned, be involved in the weekly game plan. To what degree? Who knows? I think it's going to depend on what team you're playing in each and given situation that you have in every game. But he is a guy that will go into the season, according to Joey McGuire, as QB2 for the Red Raiders. As for the guy that I know a lot of Texas Tech fans are excited about the future, that is Will Hammond. And Will Hammond, just like Cameran Brown, has gotten a lot of praise from Joey McGuire through spring camp and the summer, where he had 26 touchdown passes, did Will Hammond, to only 4 interceptions against all 3 levels of the depth chart for the Red Raiders. Joey McGuire said he's never seen a true freshman do that. He commanded the huddle. He was making great reads. But right now, you're talking about a 4-star freshman who's going to come in and probably redshirt, if we're being honest, but the future is bright. I mean, just look at his high school stats. You can see him at the bottom of your screen right there. Over 8,700 passing yards in high school and over 2,700 rushing yards. He was a finalist for Mr. Texas Football High School Player of the Year by Dave Campbell's High School Football. We're talking about a guy where you can see the transition. When Behren Morton's time is up in the 806, Will Hammond will more than likely be QB1 and be one that everybody is excited about. It's almost like he's the new Behren Morton in the sense that, remember when Texas Tech fans, and I'm right there with you, were excited about this 4-star freshman quarterback coming in? Will Hammond fits the bill, right? And it's kind of the same way. And I'm super excited to see him. Hopefully you don't see him this year in any red shirts, because that likely means that Behren Morton played 10-plus games. The only reason you would see Will Hammond is if he's in there for garbage time and they want to get him some live game reps, maybe against a North Texas, Abilene Christian, whatever it may be. But that's on the more hopeful side, right? As for the returnees, we talked a lot about him. We will talk a lot about him this offseason and obviously during the season as well. It is Behren Morton. He threw for about 1,750 yards last year, 15 touchdowns and 8 interceptions. He was hurt the entire season that he played after getting his shoulder banged up in Morgantown against the West Virginia Mountaineers after Tyler Shough left with a leg injury that put him out for the entire season. Behren Morton grinded through last season. He did not practice during the week, only throwing the football on Saturdays, game days. That's the only time he practiced, according to Joey McGuire and Zach Kitley, after the season was over. He is reportedly 100% now, according to him and Joey McGuire and everybody else that's talking about Texas Tech football. And if he is, this could be a true breakout season for Behren Morton, a guy that was a highly coveted 4-star quarterback, has scarlet and black running through his bloodlines since, well, he was born, right? Like, you know, you think about his dad and everybody else in his family. He's a Red Raider, true and true. This is a guy that could be a true difference maker at the quarterback spot. And I know that sounds kind of crazy to say about him, but if we're being honest about it, we really haven't gotten to see Behren Morton all that much completely healthy, right? You think about it, you've seen it maybe a spurt here and there, but really, truthfully, we haven't gotten to see that close to the ceiling of Behren Morton on a consistent basis. And I think you could see that if he plays 10-plus games this year, because you're going to have better wide receivers, better tight ends. The offensive line is going to be a little bit better. And, oh, yeah, you got Taj Brooks returning as well. As for the other quarterback in the quarterback room, that will be Jake Strong. He started last year at BYU, thrust into a position that was just, I mean, not great for a true freshman, right? You think about it, played against TCU, threw a couple picks there as well. He just was thrown into some positions as a true freshman where you didn't want him to play. Unfortunately, that was the circumstances where he was asked to play, through 2 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. He's going to be a guy that's going to be lower on the depth chart, asked to develop. And hopefully you don't see any Jake Strong this year in meaningful situations. And I'm not saying that to bash Jake Strong. I'm saying that because hopefully Behren Morton stays completely healthy. All right, as for my projections or predictions, I guess I should say, for Behren Morton and the QB room for the Red Raiders in 2024. You can see it at the bottom of your screen right there. I think if Behren Morton stays healthy and plays 10-plus games, you will see a guy that throws for over 3,400 yards, 30 TDs, 8 interceptions, and has somewhere in the neighborhood of a 64% completion percentage. Maybe it goes up to 65. I think, as I mentioned earlier, Cameran Brown will be an integral part of the offense and have specific packages designed for him. I think there's a scenario where he comes in and he's a goal line guy and he steals some TDs from Taj Brooks, steals a TD or 2 from Behren Morton, and has 6 total touchdowns on the year for around 300 total yards. I don't think he's going to do anything crazy in terms of going out there and having a 60-yard run. He has the capabilities, but I think it's going to be more of that 4th and 2 situation, bringing in a guy that's physical. We're talking about a guy that's 6'2", 230. I mean, he's a big, large human being at the quarterback position. So that's what I think happens there in an ideal situation. And again, I will never project injury, so I'm not going to do that. Will Hammond red shirts, and then you have Jake Strong on the bench. I think that that's where you're at if you're Texas Tech. Again, you haven't had a quarterback stay healthy for 10 plus games if you are Texas Tech in terms of starting since Nick Shimonek did it. That was the year after Patrick Mahomes left. Patrick Mahomes is now going into year 7 of the NFL. Oh, by the way, has 3 Super Bowls. Did you know Patrick Mahomes went to Texas Tech? There you go. Just kidding, obviously. But that's what I have right now for Texas Tech at the quarterback position. Again, you can see it at the bottom of your screen right there. My prediction for Behren Morton this year, 3,400 passing yards, 31 TDs, 8 interceptions with about a 64%, 65% completion percentage with Cameran Brown coming in, 300 total yards, 6 TDs. He's going to be used, people, in that regard. But I do think this is the breakout year for Behren Morton with the wide receivers. I think the offensive line will be better. The tight ends will be used more. But again, before we head out of here, let me know your one word to describe Behren Morton. Mine is upside. I think if Behren Morton stays healthy, the ceiling for Texas Tech elevates a game, if not 2, when you're talking about the Red Raiders flirting with double-digit wins with the schedule that they are presented in 2024. So again, my word to describe Behren Morton is upside. Let me know yours down on the pinned comment below. And if you haven't already, be sure to like the video, hit that subscribe button, and turn on that notification bell to stay in the know on all things Texas Tech football all year long. On Wednesday, I'll have another video for you. It'll be the RB preview. Can we have a new all-time rushing leader at Texas Tech? Taj Brooks, 1168, a number you need to know. But in today's video, we discussed all things quarterback. I appreciate you being here. And one more time, I know I just said it, but one more time, if you haven't already, be sure to like the video, hit that subscribe button, and turn on that notification bell to stay in the know on all things Texas Tech football all year long right here on the largest group of Texas Tech fans on YouTube in the Back to 12 podcast channel.